One thing that's fun is you have a very optimistic view about things.
I think if I'm a sort of neutral in terms of optimism or pessimism, and I look at the facts around me, I look at what has happened in my lifetime. You know, put three of me end to end, and you're back before the Declaration of Independence was written. That progress in 3 lifetimes like mine, it's mind-blowing.
Since I've known you, you've always been good at taking finance things and making them simple. Do you think that came naturally, or did you learn over time just answering questions about finance decade after decade?
I started teaching a course when I was 21 years old at the University of Omaha. I did that because I was terrified of public speaking earlier, and I'd taken a Dale Carnegie course, and I felt I just had to get out there and start talking. Standing up for 2 hours in front of a class helped me in learning to explain things.
Well, it's amazing how you've gone through market periods that are utterly different, and yet your basic rules about what to do remain unchanged.
Yeah, the rules work. They're not the easiest to apply. They won't tell you exactly when to buy or sell, obviously, but you'll never do anything stupid if you follow some fairly simple principles. When you get a chance to buy something of extraordinary value, whether it's a farm or an apartment house or a piece of a business or an entire business, the time to do it is then, and not worry about whether you could do it a little cheaper a month later or 2 months later.
Warren makes unique compensation agreements for the people who work for him. And having thought through how do you incent good behavior, what's the best thing for the long term, I've learned a lot of how you think about compensation.
Basically, I want the paintbrush to be in their hand.
And I didn't even want to meet Warren because I thought, hey, this guy buys and sells things, and so he found imperfections in terms of markets. That's not value added to society. That's a zero-sum game that is almost parasitic. That was my view before I met him. And no, he wasn't going to tell me about inventing something. But then I meet him, and I realize that everything he does is based on a framework of the world where he's judging markets, judging people, judging how things work in a very deep way. And so he asked me questions about Microsoft, like, why can't IBM crush you in a second? That is the world's most obvious question, and nobody had ever asked me before. And so I got to ask him about newspapers and retailers and good investments, bad investments, and how he figured all that out. And I realized we both, although we come from different places, we're both trying to model the world and what goes on. And the world, I have to say, has been even more fascinating in some unexpected ways than when we first became friends. A number of things Warren and I call each other, oh my God, can you believe what's going on? This is so interesting, unexpected. What the hell's gonna happen? We can talk, forever because we're both trying to figure it out.
Well, about the friendship, we met on July 5th, 1991, and hit it off immediately. Bill was a little reluctant at first, but he got there. And
reluctant to come.
Yeah, definitely. No, if it wasn't for his mother, we probably wouldn't know each other. And we've had a good time ever since. And we've cooperated on, particularly on the giving pledge, but other things as well. And I have to say, everything about it's turned out well. Well, I learned from him. I like to learn from all friends, and Bill happens to be a particularly good source. but that's the fun of having friends, Charlie. I don't think I would. It'd be hard for me to be a friend with anyone that I don't learn something from. And they'd probably get kind of bored with me, and I get bored with them. Who's that guy talking about stocks?
And Bill, what have you learned from him, being associated with him?
Well, an immense amount. He wrote an article for Fortune magazine that I read before I met him about that it's not necessarily a good idea to leave large sums to your children. So that was pretty fundamental, and I remember reading that, and I was convinced that was right, and it meant, wow, now you have to think of how to give it away. I also remember Warren showing me his calendar, and
I love this.
I had every minute packed, and I thought that was the only way you could do things. And the fact that he is so careful about his
Can I
time.
show this to the audience? Yeah.
He has days
That there's nothing on.
that there's nothing on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Some
show.
of the best ones.
And
Well, this is October.
it's very
so
high
I'll
tech.
go
Be
back.
careful.
No,
You might not understand
I'm
it.
going to hold. I'm not going to show the thing. But this is the week of April, of which there are only 3 entries for a week.
Yeah, there'll be 4 maybe by April.
File tax.
So
return.
that taught you what? To not to crowd yourself too much and give yourself time to read and think and.
Right, that you control your time, and that sitting and thinking may be a much higher priority than a normal CEO who, there's all this demand and you feel like you need to go and see all these people. It's not a proxy of your seriousness that you filled every minute in your schedule.
And people are going to want your time.
Yeah, the
and
demand
it's the
is-
only thing you can't buy. I mean, I can buy anything I want, basically, but I can't buy time.
And so to have time is the most precious thing you can have.
I better be careful with it.
Yeah.
Man. There's no way I will be able to buy more time.
Yeah, I think curiosity, which Warren mentioned, is an amazing thing where you try and predict what's going to happen, and then when it doesn't, you sort of think, well, that drug didn't get invented, that stock didn't go up, that approach wasn't popular. What is it about my model of the world that's wrong? Who could I talk to? What could I read? And the things that have happened since 1991, mostly good things, have been amazing and just so much fun to talk about. We read the news and we think, God, what did Warren think about that? Warren's 25 years older than I am. He's absolutely an amazing person. And I was lucky enough to meet him in 1991.
Reluctantly.
Yeah, I didn't think I wanted to meet him because I don't think of buying and selling of stocks as a value-added part of society.
Except for private equity.
I'm more involved in the innovation part. But when I met Warren, the fact that he had this model of how the world worked, he asked me, why can't IBM put you out of business? Which is a very smart question. Because at the time IBM was 10,000 times our size, and yet, we would go on in terms of software innovation and even value of the company to surpass IBM, who was the dominant computer company when I was growing up by huge amounts.
Their mistake was when you developed the software for their IBM PC, they should have bought it from you as opposed to licensing. Is that right?
That would have helped them, but it wouldn't have really changed things. I mean, what's happened in computing required really thinking about the microprocessor and software in a very different way than they did with the mainframe. It really is kind of an innovator's dilemma thing, that this very low-end way of looking at computing, personal computing, the technologies that came out of that now dominate everything: corporate computing, cloud computing.
So Warren Buffett, he developed a relationship with him, and he became a bridge player with him and offer and so forth. And one day he calls you and says, guess what, I've got an extra $100 billion I don't know what to do with, I'm going to give it to you. What did you say?
Well, it was unbelievable that he chose a substantial part. He created 5 foundations that he's giving substantial money to. A high percentage of that went to our foundation that basically doubled our ambition. And so, going after malaria eradication, going after new seeds. We added an agricultural thing. We added sanitation because of the incredible resources he made available.
He didn't want his name on it? Why did somebody?
We asked him, and he said no. So anyway, Warren is an unbelievable person. I've learned immense amounts from Warren. It's an incredible time to be a learner. I remember when I was young, I had the World Book, which is one of Warren's products, and it was very good. But I always felt like, God, I want to get into this in more depth. I want to understand it better. Today, the videos that are online and the courses that you can buy with the very best professors, it's phenomenal. Take a subject like weather or climate change, or what's going on in economics, what's known, what's not known. Now with the foundation, a lot of what I need to learn is about biology, making vaccines and what's going on with these various diseases. This is a phenomenal time to be a curious person. The information that's out there, I have my biggest problem is that I stay up too late because I'm reading and then I'm a little bit tired the next day.